All right, everybody, good evening. We are now live on Facebook. So for those of you joining us on Zoom, welcome. For those of you tuning in on Facebook, also welcome. You guys might be joining not right at the beginning. So if you're watching this on a replay, sorry, but you won't be able to ask any questions live. So we have a really fun event for you guys tonight. It has been so great being able to bring back some of our events in person, but that doesn't mean that we're going to stop having these live events. So tonight we have an amazing live event for you where we have Phil Long from Longevity Wines. He's going to talk about his Chardonnay. You know what Chardonnay is perfect for? Thanksgiving, which is in 6 days. So without further ado, I'm going to turn things over to Phil so he can talk about his Chardonnay. You guys have already sent us a ton of questions for him. So I'll let him get going with his presentation, and then we'll go ahead and go through some of the questions that you've already asked. So Phil, please take it away.
Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I'm really honored and pleased to be here, and I'm glad you've joined us because you have an interest in longevity. And I'm going to kind of talk a little bit about longevity, the history, the story, and the wines as well. So I'm going to attempt to get started here. And there we go. Is everybody can see that okay? Just give me anybody thumbs up, anything.
Yep, looking good.
All right. So just a little bit about a background of longevity. Longevity was started by my wife and I just out of a love for doing something together. I grew up in Southern California, and in Southern California, wine is just basically a commodity. It's something you get at a grocery store or a state-run store, so to speak, wherever you can get the wine. And when Debra and I relocated to Northern California, we realized that Northern California wine is part of the fabric of life here. And we started getting out and exploring our new surroundings, and inevitably you can't drive in any direction in Northern California without ending up in wine country. So that passion sort of grew to an extent where we started making a little wine in the garage just for fun. That was in 2003. 2008, we opened our own commercial facility in the beautiful Livermore Valley, where we still are. A little bit about the label. If you look at the label, you'll see that the heart design on the label is made up of grapevines, grapes, and more hearts. And that was inspired by the glass hearts, or any hearts I would give Debra on Valentine's Day. And she amassed this huge, huge, huge collection of hearts. And that's what inspired the design of the heart on the label. And I designed that for Debra. That's become the iconic heart that's on the label, that's been on many, many TV shows like Big Bang Theory, Big Little Lies, Grace and Frankie, Mom, Undateable, Flaked. All those are on our website, longevitywines.com. Unfortunately, we lost Debra to pancreatic cancer in 2019, but I did get to take her with me so she could see that I got the entire heart tattooed on my entire sleeve. So she knows she's going to be with me for the entire journey, no matter what. Just some kind of brand highlights, just to give you, again, a more background story. Within 10 years, we were awarded Winery of the Year in Livermore Valley. Last year, I was nominated for a Wine Star Award through Wine Enthusiast magazine. We've been a minority certified winery now for 4 years. I'm also the president of the Association of African American Vintners. The Chardonnay, which we're tasting tonight, as well as the Cab and the Rosé, are all bottled in a certified zero waste facility. We're using a great Christoph closure, the Helix, which doesn't require a corkscrew. And we talked about the TV shows and the national press media. Now, I blinked, and now it's over 500 million. So that continues to grow. Here's just a highlight of some of the press. We've pretty much been in every single periodical, magazine, newspaper, TV show that there is, and that continues to grow. We were actually this past Valentine's Day, one of Oprah's picks for her O list, number 3 of 24. Glad to know Oprah is enjoying our Chardonnay as well. And talking about some of the TV shows, there's just a splattering here, but I'll have to say my favorite is Reese Witherspoon and her whole crew sitting around the table drinking longevity Chardonnay, talking about just how great the Chardonnay is. Fun stuff. The TV stuff continues even now. Grace and Frankie, for their last season, are not only having it in the background, they're going to be pouring it on their last season. And there's a splattering of other shows. I believe this is a set of Evolution for PN Productions. So keep your eyes out. You'll get a glimpse every now and then. Here we are at the Chardonnay. So we're going to talk a little bit. We're going to hang here for a bit, talk about the Chardonnay. As a winemaker, I really try to focus on the individual characteristics of any particular varietal that I'm concentrating on. So if you look at Chardonnay, it's got to be, to me, a balance between the characteristics of oak, fruit, acidity, butter. All those things have to be in balance. If it's too much oak, it's just not really enjoyable. If it's over the top butter, that's too much. They all have to be in balance. And that was our goal with the Chardonnay, is to try to keep it in balance as much as possible. I'm really proud of this wine because it's really, typically when you've got, let's say Cabernet and Chard next to each other, the Cabernet really normally outweighs the Chard in sales tremendously. The Chard is actually almost the exact same as the Cab. And the two vintages that have been produced have both been rated by Wine Enthusiast magazine at 88 points, which for a California appellated wine is pretty remarkable to be in 88 points. We're in really, really good company in the magazine. Should I take any questions on the Chard, or should I move to some of our other wines? Or
So Phil, we do have a couple of questions that came in even before the event that I think would be great to talk about.
Okay.
But I do want to mention, so those of you watching on Zoom, please go ahead, leave your questions in the chat box. But for those of you on Facebook, we've got a lot of people watching on Facebook tonight. Please leave comments on the live stream, and I'm checking in on my phone to look for your questions. So don't be afraid. Ask questions in the comment section. So Phil, one question for you before we do the tasting, which is going to be great. What kind of sparked your interest to become a winemaker?
I never had the goal of being a winemaker. Debra and I just had the interest of enjoying wine together, but like I said, in Southern California, it's just something we had together, going out or at home, but up here when we started ending up in wine country on the weekends, what was fascinating was the process. I just really, really fell in love with the process. I'm a creative by heart. I have a degree in architecture. So creating things that's just who I am. But the process of creating wine is really, really, it's enjoyable, it's satisfying. But most of all, I think it was something that Debra and I could do together as a hobby. And it was really cool because it was an equal playing field. Neither one of us had any clue what we were doing, but we had fun enjoying the time together and just learning together. I think that's the key thing. And, once I jump into something, I normally don't take a small leap. So here we are today.
That's awesome. We'll save some of the other questions for later.
Questions for later. So for all of you that have the Chardonnay open, I hope you have it open and chilled and some in your glass. I'm sorry, I don't. I just literally got off the freeway and on the computer. But the very first thing you're going to notice about the wine is opening the wine. You don't need a corkscrew. that helix cork. You can twist out without a corkscrew. You can put it back if you don't happen to drink all the wine. It is 100% recyclable, 100% TCA free, and 100% renewable. If you get some of the Chardonnay in your glass and you swirl it, I mean, the first thing you're going to notice is you're gonna pretty much pull off the sense of fruit first, but there is going to be an aspect of oak that complements the fruit. It doesn't overpower the fruit, and it's not in the background. It's that great balance of aromas that make a great Chardonnay a great Chardonnay. On the palate, it's the same thing. It's a very full-bodied Chardonnay. It's not very lackluster. It's going to coat your tongue very well. And when you swallow, it's going to have a really, really nice long finish. And that's what I get. But I'm curious if anybody wants to throw out in the chat their questions. Are you getting the same thing, or are you getting something different that I may not have mentioned?
All right, so is anybody tasting along and want to answer? I am drinking tea, so I cannot share tasting notes, but I have a bottle for later.
Well, if anything comes in, let me know. I'm just gonna we also, oh, wait a minute, I'm in the wrong window now. So we've also recently come out with a rosé of Pinot Noir, which I'm really, really honored to be able to call Debra's Cuvée. We've always made a GSM at our facility in Livermore named Debra Valley, which is short for Debra's Cuvée. And then we started making a GSM rosé, which is called Rosé of Debra Valley. And now on the national side, we have Debra's Cuvée, which I'm really, really happy to keep her name in the public spotlight, because I will always honor her in everything I do. We also have a Cabernet Sauvignon, 87 points, very approachable, not overly tannic, a very enjoyable wine, especially if you're making that progression from lighter wines to heavier wines. We talked about the helix cork. I think if you guys haven't noticed, inside the bottle, there are actually threads molded inside the bottle, which allows those threads to actually mold to the cork itself. And that allows you to twist it out and twist it back in. Just some comparative shopping, at a price point of wherever you're selling it at. The $16 is just a roundabout range. The Chardonnay is competing with wines of $42. And the Cabernet is competing with wines even in the $60 range. Just brand new stuff overall. We're actually just released the new Phil Long Reserve brand, which is single varietal vineyard so far, Napa Valley and Alexander Valley Sonoma. And really, really looking forward to the trajectory of Phil Long. And that's basically what I got. And I am open for questions, comments, or even jokes if you got them.
Awesome. So Phil, we do have quite a few questions for you, but before we get into those, I apologize, you guys. I forgot to introduce everybody when we got started. I was so excited to get started. So those of you who have come to some of our live events, you know Chad, and this next question is for him. So Chad is here with us tonight. And Chad, the people of Facebook want to know how many of the longevity wines we sell in our stores.
So currently we carry the Chardonnay in our stores, and we do have a little bit of the Cabernet left. But we did recently do an allocation for a couple of Phil's lower production wines. So we do have his philosophy coming. It isn't in our stores yet, but it is supposed to come very, very soon. I actually believe it landed this week, as well as we did a Grenache with him. And we're actually looking to secure a couple more, like the Debra's Cuvée. I actually just asked if we could possibly get some of that. So we are starting to get some of Phil's wines in. Unfortunately, it took a little bit longer for us to get them into the market, but they are arriving, and you'll be able to find them at a bunch of our stores very shortly.
Awesome. So Craig, do you know how quickly we'll have them?
I can speak to a couple of these. The Debra's Cuvée Rosé just went into the bottle. The 2021, the 2020 went out very quickly. The 2021 just got bottled, so that will have to show Chad in the next couple weeks. And then the Alexander Valley and the Napa Valley Cab were also just to start on a very limited release nationally. So those will start to roll out to the rest of the country over the next few months. But Phil may have some better intel on that.
Yeah, and I think the question more related to more of the Vintner Select wines that come straight from the Livermore location, which the Grenache were just, unfortunately, we're in between varietals now. We just sold out of one and we're about to bottle the other. And as far as Debra is concerned, that's available and that can come your way anytime soon as well.
All right, guys, you heard it straight from the winemaker and the distributor. It'll be here in a couple of months.
And the other thing too is if your favorite store doesn't have any Cabernet, there is some in the warehouse. So we can make arrangements to get it to you.
Awesome. Thanks, Craig. Okay, Phil, I've got quite a few questions for you. So the first one is, how did it feel to be on Oprah's 2021 Valentine's Day list?
It's pretty cool because I never imagined this brand growing to the level that it has. So I'm really, really honored that, she sat there and pointed to our Chardonnay among how many other choices she had to pick. But I'm very happy about it. I don't know what else to say, that I was surprised, ecstatic, and proud at the same time.
Now this follow-up is from me personally. Did you get to talk to Oprah?
I'm going to answer that as not yet.
Oh, so cool. All right. So when we were supposed to have our live event with Phil last month, we had some technical difficulties with Zoom having an outage. So we had some questions that were related to what he was doing then. So Phil was in the middle of Crush. He was going to take some time out of his Crush to do the live event with us. But, I know it's a month late, but somebody wanted to know how your Crush was going. So how did it go?
Crush went amazingly well. Sans, S-A-N-S is the term, sans fires this year. We did not have to dance around fires and smoke taint for the first time in several years. So from that aspect, we're very, very happy. The fruit looks phenomenal. The yields look phenomenal. And we are currently in the process of basically just barreling down our last juice, and then we put it to bed. It'll all be put to bed for their winter nap.
Excellent. So this next question, Phil, I know that you started the brand with your wife. Are any other family members involved?
Great question. When Debra and I started out making wine together and we started thinking about what to call the brand, I said, well, how about Long Family Cellars? And she looked at me and just said, who else do you see over here cleaning up this crap? Good point. So she came up with longevity, but before, and this was a really interesting, I didn't even just learn this until recently. Junior was living in, my son, Phil Jr. was living in Southern California when Debra was diagnosed with cancer. And I just thought he and his wife and family moved back up because they just were done with Southern California, kind of like I was. Well, he didn't want me going through it alone. So he's been the assistant winemaker ever since he moved back up, which is now 6 years-ish.
That must be fun for you to get to work together.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
All right. Oh, this might be a tough one.
Uh-oh.
Which of your wines is your favorite?
Whichever one's in the glass at the time. I mean, you know, it's like, you know, if somebody has 3 kids, you ask them which one's your favorite. It's kind of hard to say. Yeah, I mean, okay, if I had to pick one, we do a Ramato style Pinot Grigio with limited skin contact. So it looks like a rosé, but it's 100% Pinot Grigio. That's my pool wine. And I seem to enjoy that a lot during the summer.
Well, that's perfect because one of our viewers, Tracy, she actually asked which wine you would suggest drinking over the summer. So it's
there you go.
As like a beach wine.
Yeah. And just for you guys, for those of you who have pools and we're all just the adults, no children around, just so you know, as a bit of trivia, wine glasses actually float in the pool. I know. You're thinking, really? Yeah, they do.
I'll try that at my mother's house over the summer.
Phil, you know, since we're talking about it, why don't you just share a little bit about how you make Ramato and what makes it different?
So, you know, in this country, the mass-produced Pinot Grigios. Well, let me even back up. Pinot Grigio is related to Pinot Blanc and Pinot Noir. And if you look at Pinot Blanc, it is a green grape like Chardonnay. Pinot Grigio or Pinot Gris, which is just a French pronunciation, comes from the term gray. Gris and Grigio mean gray. If you look at the grapes themselves, they look like you could almost mistake them for a red wine grape. So there's a lot of the hues in Pinot Grigio that there are in Pinot Noir. In this country, the mass-produced Pinot Grigios, they're whole cluster pressed, and if any of that color bleeds through, you can actually leach out the color, which is what is done traditionally to make it a clear Pinot Grigio, because that's what's accepted. The problem is you can't leach out color without leaching out flavor. Well, in Italy, they've learned that the process of limited skin contact, which for us is overnight, you actually gain flavor, aromas, but you gain that color. So we gently crush the grapes, we cold soak them for 24 hours, and then we press. And that is the process we use to make Ramato, which is it's just a beautiful color wine.
So Chad, this next question is, I think for you. I mean, we could probably tag team it, but one of our viewers on Facebook is wondering if the longevity wines are available to be purchased through our website for curbside pickup.
So the Chardonnay is currently available. We actually have a really good deal on the Chardonnay. We don't really want to tell Phil how much we're selling it for, but it may be kind of a surprise. It's currently on sale for $9.99. And it is available through our curbside for the stores that do have it and do offer curbside. Sorry, Phil.
That's all right.
So just to elaborate a little bit, so we do have curbside pickup available at 22 of our 69 stores. So there are, quite a few stores that might be convenient for you to pick up from. Obviously, you can shop in store as well. Looks like the Cabernet Sauvignon that we have a limited supply of, there's only 35 in the state. So if you do want that, it looks like you are going to Claremont or Seabrook. So I hope if you want those, you're near there, or talk to us tonight about getting a transfer for you.
And just remember, it's all just like Doritos. We'll make more.
But better than Doritos.
Yeah, that $9.99 Chard price, that's a buy a case for the holidays price.
Yeah.
And then you think it's for the holidays, and then after Thanksgiving, you go buy another case.
So I personally think that Chardonnay goes really well with turkey. I mean, in my family, it's a no-brainer, bring Chardonnay to Thanksgiving. But Phil, we have another question. Somebody wants to know what you think pairs well with Chardonnay.
I mean, I think Thanksgiving dinner is a perfect, it's an absolute perfect no-brainer. In general, rosés do well. and lighter red wines like Pinot Noir go well. But the surprising pairing for Chardonnay, which is, I know it's just the most bizarre thing, but it works. Trust me, it works, is popcorn. Popcorn and Chardonnay go amazingly well together, which I would never have expected, but it really does.
Let's see this next question. How long, you know what? I have an answer for this question, but Phil, I will let you answer too. How long can I keep a bottle of your Chardonnay open? Drink it tonight, people. Share a glass with your significant other and drink the bottle. But I'll let Phil give you the real answer.
Yeah, I mean, white wines in general, especially, you know, it's interesting how during the process of making wine, there's a time when oxygen to wine is friendly, and there's a time when oxygen to wine is unfriendly. When you open your wine and now you're flooding the bottle that used to be filled with wine with oxygen, it starts to be unfriendly. So I would drink it within the first or second night would be my recommendation, because after that, it's just going to start a little downhill slope, and you're going to notice a difference.
All right, Phil, do you accept visitors at the winery?
We do. We have a tasting room, a barrel room. There's pictures on the website. We're currently expanding to more than twice our footprint. We're expanding to have a commercial kitchen for winemaker dinners. We actually do a cheese pairing education class every now and then. That's posted on the website. Also, I think our next one is December 16th, I believe, and that's one of the reasons. That's why I was out going through the pairings of cheese and wine. We have an actual certified, who knew, cheesemonger who pairs all of our wines with cheeses. And yes, we do accept visitors. Tasting room is open Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Right now, we're going to be expanding as we expand our footprint, and we can probably by January 1st taste easily 100 people at a time.
Great. So there's been quite a bit of chatter here on Zoom and on Facebook about how cool your corks are. Could you talk a little bit about why you decided to use that type of cork, and what are the benefits of it?
I mean, the primary benefits are, you know, you don't need a corkscrew. I mean, that's first and foremost. You can throw it in your, cooler, and if you forgot a corkscrew, no matter. You're going to always be able to open that bottle of wine no matter what. You're not going to find yourself without a corkscrew trying to open the wine with a shoe against a concrete wall, which is a thing, trust me. But that's number one. Number two, screw caps are not 100% recyclable because of the silicone of the plastic inside, where the cork, this helix cork, it's an agglomerated cork, is 100% recyclable. In fact, we recycle all our corks, and our corks are then made into soles for shoes. The fact that you're never going to get a corked bottle of wine because it's 100% TCA free. It's just good all around. It's good for the environment. It's good for you. It's good for everybody.
Great. We have just a couple more questions for you tonight. So if anybody does have anything else, please go ahead and leave your questions for Phil in the chat or in the comments on Facebook. So this next question, we talked a little bit about this on our dry run, but some of our Facebook Live, Zoom Live regulars, they want to know if they're going to get to meet you at Wine Week next year.
We did talk about that, didn't we? I will say this. Since that dry run, the chances have grown significantly of me coming to Wine Week.
Awesome.
So I'm not so sure about the weather. I'll have to, go get my Nanook coat. But other than that, the chances look good.
Awesome. So for those of you who are watching tonight who are not familiar with our Wine Week, we haven't been able to have it since 2020. So we had to take a year off. for obvious reasons. I don't know what's been going on in the world, guys. Like, why couldn't we have our big tasting, right? So it's in January of this year. We're going to be able to, we're going to have tickets for sale soon for the Winter Wine Spectacular. And there's always wine dinners and tastings. We usually have signings at some of our stores. So if you're not familiar with Wine Week, get excited. It's a great program. It's a great week-long program that we run. All right.
Yeah, I look forward to coming. I do live in California, so that kind of cold is really abstract to me. But I think we'll survive.
Well, you never know. I mean, here in southern New Hampshire, it was 70 yesterday. That's very unseasonable for here. So you never know. We could get a nice mild winter wine week.
Okay, I'm in California. The word below never comes up in weather here. Ever.
So for those of you who want to meet Phil, we'll keep our website updated if he's going to be visiting us for Wine Week. It's nhwineweek.com. So be sure to check back there for all your tickets and all the featured presenters that we're going to be having. It's going to be a great year. We're really excited to bring the event back.
It's the 27th, right, Chad?
That is correct. Yep. Yeah, the year off kind of throws me off.
I know, me too. That's why I'm sitting here. I'm like, I know it's the 27th, but I better ask Chad.
All right, Phil, we just have one last question for you. What was the first longevity wine that you made, bottled, and sold, and in what state did you sell it? It's a long one.
Well, it's interesting. Making wine without a brand at home is a home. That was our first wine. I had an epiphany with Syrah, and I think it actually was one of the first ones, almost one of the first ones commercially. So Syrah was the first wine we made at home. A friend of mine, again, not knowing a whole lot about wine, gave us a bottle of BV Syrah. And I pulled this bottle out of our suitcase on our anniversary weekend on our vacation. And I'm like, what the heck is Syrah? I know I'm really looking stupid here. But it was the first wine I actually tasted the fruit, which was really, really interesting for me. That was the first time I ever tasted fruit in wine. So inevitably, the first wine we made at home was Syrah. And then the first commercially available wine we made, it was our GSM, which at the time we called Longevity. We named it Longevity, but the name Longevity just stuck and became the winery name. And that's what became Debra, which is Debra's Cuvée, our GSM today.
Awesome. So we have a couple questions for Chad now. Chad, the people of Facebook would like to know how long they'll be able to get this great deal on the Chardonnay.
So the $9.99 price point, it's actually while supplies last. We purchased a certain amount of cases from Longevity Wines. So as soon as we deplete that purchase, the pricing will actually revert back to the $12.99 price point. So it's definitely one of those opportunities to buy a fantastic wine for the holiday season that's going to go great with all of your holiday meals at a deeply discounted price that you probably won't see on this wine for a significant amount of time.
It'll be here for Christmas, but it won't be here for Easter.
Oh, Chardonnay is great with ham too, in my opinion. Speaking of Easter.
Buy it now.
Yeah, for those of you who agree with me, just go ahead and get the case. You won't be sorry.
Yeah, no, it is really a great wine. I literally do not have, the person I'm picking up at the airport loves it. I don't have one bottle of it right now.
Awesome. So if you guys don't have any more questions for Phil, I guess we'll let him get off to the airport. He is off to play chauffeur after this little wine tasting with New Hampshire, and then off to the airport.
And then off to Napa tomorrow. Yeah, it never ends.
Oh, take us with you.
Please. Well, thank you guys. I really appreciate you having me. And, check out the website. We've got a great newsletter we publish every week about what's going on in longevity. You can sign up for that in the bottom left-hand corner of the website. You can check out the TV shows we've been on. A lot of fun stuff on the website. And, if you want to contact us, there's basically a link to basically our email is just the Long family at longevitywines.com. So thanks again, everybody, for having us and supporting us, and look forward to see you during wine week. I'll be the one in the big coat.
Awesome. Phil, thank you so much. Thank you for coming on tonight. Thank you for rescheduling after our issues last month. So it was so great for everybody to be able to hear your story. You just have such a great brand. So I'm glad everybody got to meet you tonight.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Keep in touch, and there's more to come, I promise.
Thanks, Phil.
All right.
Thank you, Phil.
All right. Thank you, everybody who tuned in tonight. Thanks to Chad and Sophie from our team who were working behind the scenes to make sure all your questions got answered, and Craig and Brett and Caleb. Thanks, guys, for always supporting our live events and making sure we have amazing wine celebrities like Phil to talk to.
Thanks, Carolyn. Everybody have a great weekend.
Yeah.
Thank you. Everybody. Happy Thanksgiving.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.